Well, hello everybody and welcome back. This is the fourth video in my tutorial about SketchUp for Schools versus SketchUp Make versus SketchUp Pro. Today we're going to be primarily talking about groups versus components. As you can see, the words groups versus components up there. But there's other things that we're going to cover in this video as well. Very crucial, important things to learn. So make sure you pay attention if you're following along. If this is the first video you've come to, you should probably back up and go watch the first three videos first. They're short. We're going to once again start with decimal inches so that your numbers stay the same as mine. And I'm going to click there and delete her. All right, so first off, I want to talk about selection squares. So I'm going to draw a rectangle on here right now. You should not be following along with me at the moment because what I'm doing is just stuff that I'm using for demonstration purposes. Let's do that differently. Let's pull that up. Do something else here. I'm going to use this to demonstrate a few things. At the moment, I'm just trying to make this interesting looking. Maybe a bit of a waste of time, but we're still going to show it to you anyways. I'm going to go ahead and grab that whole thing and copy and paste it. Do another one of those and another one of those. Oops. I'll explain to you all the stuff that I just did in a second. There are things that I did that I didn't really explain, but that's not really, because it's not really to the point that I want to talk about right now. All right. Now, I want you to notice that if I have this black arrow right here, which is up here, it's that black arrow, which I don't understand why. I don't know how to close this untitled/save thing here. Maybe there's a way. I don't know. One way or the other, it blocks that little arrow, which annoys me. Okay. When I click with this black arrow and come down and to the right, I get a solid line. The square is a solid line. If I go from right to left, I get a dotted line. And they're doing different things here. If I'm going from right to left, it's going to grab everything that it entirely encloses, such as right now, that's just going to confuse you. Once again, I'm going to do a couple things that you don't need to concern yourself right now, but I will explain later in this video. But for the purposes of what we're doing right now, I want to do this, and I will talk to you about this later, but it's not really related to what I'm talking about right now. All right, so at the moment, these are 1, 2, 3, 4 objects on your screen. If I go from right to left, or left to right, as it happens to be, left to right, it's going to grab only the things that it entirely encompasses. So at the moment, it's only going to grab the far left object. It did not do anything with that. And if I do this, it's going to grab the first two. Do like this, it's only going to grab the first two again. See how it's almost enclosing that thing, but not entirely enclosing it, which means that it's only going to grab those two. Okay? Now, if I go from right to left, right to left, it grabs everything that it touches. So at the moment, it's going to grab that one on the left, on the right, even though it's not entirely enclosing it. And this is going to grab the 2. This is going to grab that 3 because it's barely touching the third one. It's going to grab it. Grabs everything that it touches. Okay? So if I do this right here, it's going to grab all 4. I believe I'm barely touching that one on the right, and boom. Okay? So right to left grabs everything it touches. Left to right only grabs things that it entirely encloses. Okay? It's very important you learn how to do that. You should practice that a little bit. Now, let's go back to this moment here. Now let's talk about what is this thing. Actually, making things a little too complicated for myself. I made it overly complicated is what I did. And it's just not necessary. Where is, oh, it's here. Okay. So this thing, you look at it and you think it's a cube of sorts. It's not actually a cube, but it's a rectangular solid. A rectangular solid is what you'd call this thing. And you would think that that's what it is. But if I grab like this, it's not going to grab anything at all, actually. And if I go like this, it's going to grab everything. But if I go like this, it's not going to grab the entire thing. It's only going to grab part of it. See how it did not grab this or this or this? That's because this is not a rectangular solid. It is, in fact, it's 6 surfaces and 12 lines is what it is. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 surfaces that are on the other side, and all these lines. 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines. It's a bunch of lines and a bunch of planes is what it is. Okay? It's not an object. It is only a collection of different shapes and lines. Now, that is important because if I want to move this thing, it becomes a problem. If I click on this, or if I don't click on it, let's just click outside here, and I grab the move tool, which is right here, and I try to move it, it's not going to work. If I grab a line, it's not going to work. It's just not my friend, and my students will get very frustrated at this. You can't move something. I am moving something. I'm moving that plane, and everything else is being dragged along with it. Okay? And that is also significant because that thing that I drew earlier, which was like this, where there is, in fact, no way for me to move this little object right here. I could try to select it. No, not like that. Oops, Control Z. I could try to select it by doing this. And now that's the only thing that's selected. And I can select that. Oops, I need to deselect that line right there. And now the only thing I have selected is this box. But when I try to move it, it's not going to move for me because it's stuck. That's called sticky geometry, is what that's called. Okay. So what I'm dealing with today, or we're talking about today, is how to deal with this situation and how to work in a way in SketchUp where you can move things around once you've created them. Okay. So there's a couple of different ways to make this an object. Okay. That's basically the theme of the video, is turning them into objects. Groups are objects, components are objects. Okay, so I could select the entire thing simply by going like that, and I've selected everything, and that's great. But there's another way to select things as well. First of all, when you have an object like this, you click on something, as discussed earlier, it's going to select that surface, or you've seen me do that earlier. You can select a surface, or you can select a line just by clicking on it. If you double click on a surface, click, it selects the surface, but it also selects all the bounding edges. Bounding edges are all the lines that create that surface. So when I double clicked on this surface, it selected the surface and the 4 lines that are required to create that surface. It's called bounding edges, once again. So click once, get the surface, click twice, you get the bounding edges. Click 3 times, click, and it selects everything that is touching. Okay, now this becomes a problem. Once again, I'll bring this thing back into play here. Let's imagine you've got that, and you've got another one over here. And you want to just select this object in the middle. There's no way you can select that surface, but as soon as you triple click, boom, 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 it's click, it selects everything that is touching. Okay, all lines and shapes, or all surfaces and lines that it touches, it is going to select. Okay, so there's no way for me to move this thing separate this from this, or this from this, or anything. There's no way for me to grab just this easily. Click, because it's going to grab everything. Okay, so what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to select the object, boom, 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 and then you're going to need to make it a group or a component, and we're going to show you that now. Okay, I'm going to move in at this point into the work that I would have my students copy me or follow along with me. So I'm going to delete that and I'm going to start the portion of the video where I do expect my students and anybody else who's trying to follow along and trying to make sure that you're kind of doing what I'm asking you to do so you can try to learn this material. I want you to follow along. I'm going to grab the rectangle tool and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create a 12, 12, enter, rectangle. Oh my gosh, it disappeared. Does anybody remember why that happened? It disappeared because of the fact that it's still there, by the way. In fact, I touched it a moment. There it is. It's right there. But I am like in a helicopter flying above the city trying to look for a 12 inch by 12 inch square, which is not there. I really want to find a tool. It's not here. I really want to find the tool that is for, and feel free to let me know where that is, although I think that I don't have my comments on yet. Somewhere in here, there should be a way of, I'm looking for the tool, Zoom Extents is what it's called on the other program. But basically, I'm just going to zoom in. Oh, there it is right there. And I'm going to move that in here. And now I've got my 12 by 12 square. This wouldn't have been a problem if you're just getting started, because you wouldn't be zoomed out that far if you were doing a 12 by 12. If you created 12 by 12 by 12 square, or 12 by 12 square, excuse me. Need to get better about saying square versus cubes. If you're creating a 12 by 12 square and you just open the program, it shouldn't be way up there. You shouldn't be panning above from the sky or looking above from the sky. It should be easy to spot. I'm going to pull this up 12 inches, enter. I'm going to repeat that a little bit so you guys can see it, those of you who may not remember this very well. I'm going to grab a rectangle tool, I'm going to click, I'm going to drag this direction, take my hands off the key, type 12, 12, enter, and get a square. I'm then going to grab the push-pull tool right here. I'm going to pull up, let go, type 12, enter in one stroke, one pull. All right, so now I've got this object, which is not an object. It's a bunch of planes and lines. I'm going to take this thing. I'm going to select the entire thing, and I'm going to type the standard Control-C to copy it, Control-V to paste a copy of it. So now I've got two. That was the standard thing for you to learn about copying and pasting things. Now, once again, these are, as we've discussed, not objects. They are just surfaces and lines. So we're going to fix that now. I'm going to select this one on the left, and I'm going to right-click, and in here you're going to find the words Make Group. I'm going to make it a group. I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to make it a component. This is a new screen I've never seen before. It says description. Usually I'm told to come up with some sort of name, which I usually ignore altogether. I have no idea what the glue to refers to. I find that fascinating. But I'm going to ignore this, and I think I don't have to actually give it a name or do anything with it. Okay, now if I right-click on this, it should only give me the option to edit group. It should not say edit component. If I right-click on this, it should give me the option to edit component, which is good. That tells me that this one is a group, this one is a component. And we're going to show you what the difference is between those two. All right, so the next thing I want you to do is I want you to select these two, both of them, like that. At this point, you could have done that as well, same thing. And then you're going to Control-C, Control-V, and put a second copy up there. Control-V, do a third copy. Control-V, do a fourth copy. I'm going to have you select them all. Control-C, Control-V. All right, so try to follow along with that. So we have the original pair. By the way, I grabbed the black area and clicked somewhere else just to deselect so that nothing is selected. Okay, it appears that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times 4 is 32 equal squares. But the truth is 16 of these things are groups and 16 of them are components, and oh my gosh, we lost track of which ones are which. But we can find that out pretty quickly here. What we're going to do is, first thing, I'm going to right-click, I'm going to edit group. This is where most of my students make their mistake. They don't edit group like they're supposed to. We're going to edit group. I'm going to take this line right here, and I'm going to draw from corner to corner like that. Okay? I am going to take this push-pull tool. I'm going to go to right here, and I'm going to click, come up, and type 12, enter. Deselect. Okay, not terribly eventful. I pulled up basically this one here, 12 inches. Wasn't terribly exciting. It did basically what you probably figured it would do. It just changed one of the things. Now we're going to do the same thing with the component. So we're going to click on it. I'm going to select it. We're going to right click. We're going to edit the component. I'm going to draw a line, and I think you're going to probably notice the difference right away. Hey, something happened weird there. For some reason, it did it on all of them. Now we're going to push-pull that. Then we're going to come up. I'm going to go to that line right there. Or we could have typed 12 inches, same thing. And I'm going to deselect this so you can kind of see what's going on here. All right, let's talk about what just happened. When I edited this group, it's a group. When I edited the group, only that group object changed. Okay, so I made a group, I made a bunch of copies of it, and then I changed that group object, and it's the only thing that changed. But when I did the same thing with the component, all the other copies of it changed as well. And that is crucial to understand about SketchUp, because it's a tool you need to use, is if you are making an object in your project and you have a bunch of them and they all need to stay the same, then you would want to make it a component. Okay, if you want to copy and paste objects and be able to change them individually, then you need to make it a group. Okay? All right, so this is the assignment for the day, is for you to create this just like this. I want you to put it at a slight angle like this never mind. This is the assignment for the day. Play with this, practice this, learn the difference between a group and a component, and become skilled at that. Also, take time to select and deselect things and learn how to move things around once skip the move thing. I'm going to talk about that in another video. For right now, just practice the things that I've taught you today. All right? All right, you guys have a good day. I'll see you in the next video.